Hey there friends! Welcome to the shop this week. I'm working with molds. I have a bunch of molds actually. Check this one out. Ta-da! This is a gang mold. These are the tubes from the District 9 rifle that I made in 2015, I think? Quite a while ago. I made two of them. I made one for tested, and they have that in their office, and I visit it regularly, give it a pet, tell it I miss it. And I also made one for Smooth On, and that went to their, I think their main facility in Pennsylvania. I've seen that one as well. They brought it to Dragon Con. They had it at their booth one year. So anyway, I made two. They went out to their respective homes, and I never got one. But the main mold is over there. There it is, right there. That's the mold for the body. I have already cast a copy for myself, but I'm casting the rest of the parts today. Now I'm not planning on building it and assembling it and painting it soon. However, I'm sending the molds to Smooth On. They want another copy, but I figured I'll send them the molds and they can cast their own and paint it themselves. But before I do that, I want to cast copies for myself so that I can finish my own. So there are 24 of these weird tube things in the final prop, and I have a gang mold of 5. We had some preliminary molds that we made, cast 5 of them and then recast them in a gang so we can cast 5 at a time. So I'm going to do a little bit of that today while I'm working on some other stuff. Just throw some resin in these molds, throw it in the pressure pot, and then every hour or so cast a handful more so that I have enough and then I can send my molds off. So that's what I'm up to today. A little bit of some good old-fashioned resin casting. We also have Everett in town. He's hanging out with me in the shop today. Hey Everett!
Hey guys!
He's right over there. Everett is in LA most of the time, but we got him up here for a few days to do some shop work, or office work really. He's working on our store right now. We're gearing up for the new book that I'm writing. We want to have more things available for you in the store, more than just information. We want to have tools and materials and all of that sort of stuff. So right now we're seeing what's available, seeing what we can get, what would be really good, so that we can offer more for you guys. But it's been great because I can run around the shop and be like, Everett, we need these, we need knives like this. And then he'll go, yes, I will find some. And I'm like, cool, we need rulers like this. So I can just run around the shop and just grab whatever items I use that I think are great that you would use, and then we can go find where we can get them and offer them in our store. So that's what we're up to today. Probably have a couple of other things going on in the shop, and I'll take you along for the ride. I've been casting these all day. Here's one coming out of the mold. Oh, that's nice. And I have a pile of them. I think I've done 3 sets, so I have 15 of these, and I need at least 9 more. So I'll do 2 more runs of these fellas here, and then I'll be done. Well, done with these parts anyway. This is the big tube on the bottom of the alien assault rifle. And it has to be rotocast. I could cast it solid, but it would be way too heavy. So I mixed up some Smooth Cast 300 to do the first layer. I will do multiple layers. This is a little bit thinner. It stays thinner longer, but it cures fast enough that I'm not going to be rotocasting forever. It captures all the surface details. After that, I have Onyx, which cures even faster, but more importantly, it gets to like a gel state a lot quicker than this does, so it's really great for rotocasting. But also, because it's thicker, sometimes you can get bubbles trapped in the surface details in your mold, and that's not fun. So 300 for the first layer, and then probably 2 or 3 layers of the Onyx. And I just have to keep it rotating, and it's looking really good. I look in there, and I can see if this layer has started to cure yet. It looks like it has cured enough. If the resin is still moving, then it's with gravity, then it's not ready, but this is definitely ready. So I can mix up the next batch, pour it in, and get even more of an arm workout.
Hello friends, I am currently working on the mini nuke for the Fat Man launcher. This is the one we made for the mini nuke video. It's a lot of PVC plastic down here, and then all of this is all foam. So it's back heavy, and it has some thin parts that might be a little fragile, and we don't want to break it in our launcher. There's also these big pieces of hardware sticking out here that I don't want to get caught on anything inside the launcher. So we have our foam version, And this is the one I put expanding foam in that ended up being a little too heavy for the launcher. It still works, it just doesn't fly as far as the hollow one. So I don't want to add any bulk to this. I want to keep everything nice and smooth. So I'm going to be painting on all of the details. I'm trying to think of how I could do it the fastest, and what I came up with was to paint the whole thing silver, and then I'll mask off all the areas I want to keep silver. I won't have to paint these on by hand later. I'll just mask off the areas where they're going to be, and I can also mask off some areas that I can do some kind of like paint chipping look to it. I was thinking it would be really good if I had little stickers like from an office supply store in different sizes that I could just stick on here where those are going to go. I don't have any of those, but what I do have is a lot of adhesive gems. A whole bunch of packs of these guys. I think these were originally purchased for our Skyrim costumes to add a bunch of rivet-like things on there, and I bought way too many of them. I painted the hollow foam mini nuke silver, and I added the gems to it. Isn't it pretty? So I have the little small gems up here. I kind of eyeballed where they're gonna go. I traced on some of the circles there, but all of that's just gonna be hand painted later. So I've got these blocked out, these bigger ones, and then these big guys. These ones on the bottom as well. This way I can airbrush on green and then just pop these off, and there'll be little silver circles remaining. I do suspect though that some of the green's gonna wanna seep under here, so I'm gonna wanna do a layer of clear or another layer of silver, just airbrush on to seal up that gap so that green won't seep into it. I want parts of this mini nuke to look like it has chipping all the way down to the metal, so I do want some of this to stay silver. I've got some basic toothpaste for that. So if I was gonna do another layer of silver on this to seal up these little gaps, I could wait to do the toothpaste chipping, but if I was gonna do a clear coat, I'd probably wanna do the toothpaste application before the clear, because that's gonna change the silver. It'll probably shine differently, even if I use like a gloss varnish. It might make it a little shinier than this part or a little less shiny. To apply the toothpaste, I just use a crummy little brush and smush it around and try and get kind of an irregular shape that is in an area that's kind of higher up and might have actually been scuffed or scraped out in the real world. So down in the low spots, there won't be as much paint chipping. And for any thinner stuff, I can just use a skewer to kind of scrape the toothpaste around into thinner little scratch areas. I'm not going to do too much on here because I think most of it's going to be fully rusted and you won't see much of the silver. It will have rusted over the silver, but I just wanted to cover my bases and get some silver spots in case I want to leave some of that pure silver. Now I'm going to airbrush on a layer of the Angelus pewter all over this to just fill in the little gaps around my masking areas, and I'll just cover the whole thing again. I might as well do another coat of silver. The silver seems to be dry enough to add the green. This is just more of the Angelus paints mixed up into kind of the mini nuke green color. Now I can let this dry and then take off my little gems and the toothpaste masking.
This fella here should be all cured. I left it for a couple hours. It shouldn't need that long, but it never hurts to wait too long. It should be fully cured, so pull all these rubber bands off and then I should be able to pull it out of the mold. Nope, that's broken. I broke a lot of rubber bands today. Oh, that whole thing wants to come off. So this tube was used to make it's the jacket, but it was used to make this mold. And then the silicone has a parting line cut into it, like that on both sides. That's just to help get it out, like so. And I can just remove it. And that looks pretty good. Nice and sturdy. It's hollow. And someday when I finally finish that prop, this will go on there. The other part is this giant mold here. And I'm actually not going to cast that. I have one. It's in the other room. I already cast one a few years ago, so fortunately I don't need to use this big cumbersome thing again. I've cast several pieces out of it, and it's a pain in the butt. So Not going to be using this one today. I do have to get this prepared to ship, though. I'm going to have to make a big old box for that. So I think I'm done casting all the parts for the District 9 rifle that I will eventually paint someday. And when I do, I'm sure we'll make a video for it, or at the very least we'll do some coverage here on the extra credit vlog for you fine humans. We've had a tragedy. This is the cat's paw dagger, and it's got these little gems here, but this one popped out. Fortunately, I thought ahead, and I bought thousands of these. I have so many. There's this sheet, I've been using these from, there's about 10 more sheets like this in the container. So I can just replace it. It's got an adhesive back on it, so I could just mash it in there, or I could super glue it. I'm just gonna mash it in there like that, and let the adhesive do its thing. And if it pops out again, I will replace it again. Ta-da! Tragedy averted.
It is the next day and my paint is dry. I did end up with a color that was a little darker than I wanted. Instead of doing another layer on the airbrush, I mixed a slightly lighter color and took a kind of a crummy sponge and just dabbed the color on it, so I have this kind of mottled look. That did smudge some of my toothpaste, like right there. So I think some of it may have rubbed off and then gotten some paint back on there, but that's fine. This thing's gonna get super weathered later with some rusty stuff. But let's see if these stickers come off. My worry is that the adhesive will stay on there and not peel off with the gem. That worked really well. Wow, that looks pretty darn good. And I like that the area around it's a little darker. Since I dabbed on the lighter color with a sponge, it didn't get into all those recesses. So it already has like a dark spot on there. Smaller ones come off too. What about these little guys? Oh, see, this one, the adhesive is a little loose. So I gotta make sure, yeah, I gotta make sure that that peels off with it. That worked better than expected. With all of the stickers removed, I can now take a damp cloth and start wiping off the toothpaste areas. Oh, that smells good. It smells like minty freshness. This will end up looking a little weird since I don't have the lines drawn in for the different parts. Like, the top of this is supposed to be red, which in hindsight I probably should have left the stickers on here until I did the red parts, but at least I have enough of those gems I can just stick them back on in those areas to protect it. But these areas are staying green. I think there's a yellow strip right here, but there's going to be some stripes down there, but I still think that's looking pretty great. I put a lot of the toothpaste down here on these parts because I figured they would get the most scratched and chipped like that. And here it is all cleaned off. I think that looks pretty great. I really like these thin areas down here. Again, the dark paint kind of around the edges already looks nice. I'll probably go in there with some darker colors. And it still has a nice smooth shape that'll be good for launching, that won't get caught on anything. I've got some masking tape down here and I reapplied the gems on the area that need to be red, painted on the red, tried to avoid the areas I already did paint chipping, and I did the same thing down here minus the need to put gems back on. I just tried to lay some masking tape straight across. It's not perfect, but again, this whole thing's gonna get beat up. It's still wet, but I'm gonna take it off as carefully as possible. I'm guessing there's going to be some red that seeped under this mask, but let's check it out. Actually, that looks pretty darn clean. There's a little bit right there, but I can kind of pick at it to smooth it out since it's not fully dry yet. Oh yeah, there we go. I think the last bit of color I have to add is a yellow stripe here, and then there's some kind of like seam lines that I'll do in like a darker color. But this is looking pretty great. Here is the updated progress on the mini nuke. So far I've used an ultra fine point Sharpie marker to do a little outline around all of the screw heads. Then I used a paint pen to draw the grooves that go around the nuke. It's a little uneven, but I think it still looks pretty good. There's going to be even more weathering on top of this to hide all of the uneven hand-drawn parts. I did enhance one edge of these grooves with more of the Sharpie marker. Oh, I added the yellow parts too. I just kind of loosely masked them with masking tape, and it's a little crooked, but still think it looks all right. I added some more green paint on top of it to do a little bit of a chipped look there, so it chipped the yellow off to the green, not necessarily down to the silver. And now this thing is ready to weather. For the weathering, I used some black flow acrylic mixed with some browns and just added a bunch of water, scrubbed over the whole mini nuke, and then just patted the whole thing down, removing a lot of the paint, but trying to leave a lot of it down in the crevices and really tone down that yellow and some of the red. After that, I used some rust finishes, which are just acrylic paints in rusty colors, and just dabbed them on in different areas. I did have to work in small batches for this because they dry super fast, and I wanted to kind of pat them down and mix them around before they dry to give it kind of a more rusty look and not a straight paint layer. And here is what we have so far. I think it looks pretty great. I tried to match the other nuke as much as possible, but it of course did end up looking different. I do think I'm just going to leave it at this stage for now, and then we'll see how the mini nuke launcher turns out after the painting phase. If this ends up not quite matching the way the launcher looks, I can modify this to match the launcher. Right now I think it looks good as a standalone piece, but we'll see how it matches with our main project. I am really excited to see this go launching through the air though. It looks so much better than just the flat black foam. This is gonna be a lot of fun.
I got the District 9 rifle molds all packed up to send over to Smooth On. Took 2 boxes, there's a big old box down here, the big mold is in that, and the rest of the molds are in this box. Funny story, this is a Smooth On box that originally had Moldstar 15 in it. I ordered that at some point. Actually, I ordered that in 2013. There was a label on here. I ripped it off, but there was a label that had the date when it was shipped, 2013. I got this box 6 years ago, and now I'm sending it back to Smooth On, including some Moldstar 15. Some of those molds are made out of Moldstar 15. Yeah, so this is gonna go out to them, and they can make as many District 9 guns as they want. So if there's a Smooth On or a Reynolds near you, actually this might be going to the one in Burbank, California. Not sure about that. But anyway, look, if you have the opportunity to go to a Reynolds, you might see one of my District 9 guns there. But you'll also see a lot of other cool stuff. Well worth it. Anyway, hope you enjoyed running around the shop with me and Britt. And I'm excited to get this thing shipped off and out of my shop because it takes up a lot of space. That'll do it. Thanks as always for the support. It is much appreciated and necessary. You guys play a huge role in making all of this possible. I couldn't thank you enough, so please keep that up. We'll have an update on the nuke launcher in a few days. Look forward to that. But until then, have fun and happy crafting. See you later.